What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
You dislike losing much more than I do, don't you?
I forced myself to stop thinking and conclude. However, we are undoubtedly the exception. Going back to Dino, I believe it made sense to believe that he was concealing a powerful ability.
Maybe it was only meant to be a cover-up. But given how strange the manifestation was, we can be certain he has further abilities.
It has to be true if Seal says so. Stated differently, given that Dino possessed an angelic ultimate skill as well, it is likely that Michael's ultimate dominion was utilized to influence him. There was no way to disarm it right away because Dino and I weren't connected by a soul corridor, but I could still try if I ever faced him. Of course, we could not be casual because Dino might still have betrayed us of his own free will, but I had made the decision not to view him as an enemy in every situation. It would have been over at that point if not for another depressed person.
Sir Rimuru, I truly apologize. My actions put Lady Ramirez in danger.
Beretta bowed his head and knelt in front of me.
Beretta-chan, hold on a second. You did a fantastic job.
Like Ramirez, I thought so. Beretta performed admirably against the far superior Dino. I wanted to thank him for buying us all that time, not criticize him for being careless. Given Beretta's personality, I was concerned that he would blame himself for his defeat, and it turned out that he did. Excessive seriousness was bad, just as it was with Vester.
No, you did a great job of buying time, as you were trained to do.
But Lady Ramirez has given me the important role of Dungeon Master, which is essential to the defense. And Sir Rimuru has given me the task of protecting Lady Ramirez. And yet, this is me, in such a distressed state.
My words did not convince Beretta, and the more he talked, the more upset he became. Though Beretta's actions were completely appropriate, it's possible that he was very frustrated. Beretta performed admirably against Dino by having a clear sense of whether or not he could prevail. By now, Ramirez would have been taken out if he had made a careless attack out of misjudging the circumstances. The potential damage was too much for me to even consider.
You ought to be more proud of yourself, Beretta.
I told Beretta how good his job was, and it helped him to finally settle down. As it turned out, the enemy's plan had failed. To put it another way, Beretta and the others had done well enough.
That being said,
even though he had become more composed, he was not completely convinced.
You still have problems? Then come talk to me in my room later about it.
yes, my lord. Thank you.
There was no issue because Ramirez was safe. However, Beretta was still overly worried. In the end, Beretta and I agreed to discuss it further, and that concluded the issue. I then heard from Geld and Adalmann following reports from Ramirez and Vester.
Geld, you did a great job keeping the town safe. Thank you for your help.
I love this town. Words cannot express how I feel. I refuse to allow the results of our efforts to be destroyed so quickly. I have the same feelings as my friends. I promise to keep working hard and make sure I don't disappoint Sir Rimuru.
I'm depending on you, so please don't overwork yourself.
Geld seemed to be working too hard even now. It would appear as though the rest of us were slacking if he put in any more effort. It seemed likely that Geld's subordinates would not take a break either, and their superiors ought to take a little time off as well. After receiving his report, I gently urged Geld not to take any hasty action. It seems that Dino and our enemy were closely related. It was Gracia and Pico, two women. Regarding the enemy's identity, Ramirez verified that they were the 7 primordial angels, Veldonava's minions. Originally, they were seraphim, the most powerful and the highest angels, who served to maintain order in this world. It seemed that Dino belonged to this group, but the adversaries that surfaced on the 50th and 70th floors were assumed to be members of other forces.
These originals were supposed to keep the otherworld under control by keeping an eye on the dangerous monsters that had been imprisoned there. But according to what Dino informed me, 3 of them were still here on Earth.
Those 3 individuals were most likely Dino, Gracia, and Pico. After changing from Seraph to Fallen, they settled on Earth. Although it appears that their goal was monitoring, it was unclear if this was something they voluntarily chose to perform or if they were under someone else's orders. Besides, all that was acquired were bits and pieces of intelligence, so one could only guess what they were up to.
The opponent possessed a great deal of strength. It would not have been feasible for me to fight them if I hadn't evolved.
Geld said as much, so it must have been really awful. I've heard that Kumara was Pico's opponent and that they fought fiercely. Nonetheless, the fact that the opponent was still able to meddle with the labyrinth during the combat led to speculation that the opponent hadn't used their full range of powers.
I see. That is concerning.
Yes.
Although it's too late to avoid upsetting them, I would like not to. Let's make the presumption that Dino is being controlled and plan our strategy from there. And now for the opposing power we would encounter.
And what about Zelario?
Adalmann explained, and I listened.
He was a really strong opponent. Prior to my arrival, Sir Charys and Lady Trainee were engaged in combat with him. However, they couldn't withstand his strength.
This one was even worse. It appears from my review of the Labyrinth War files that the Fallen and Phantoms belong to distinct races. He identified himself as one of the 3 Phantom Commanders, and claimed to be the Phantom King's subordinate. Put another way, the 7 Primordial Angels were once led by that haughty Phantom King Feldway. Feldway has taken command of the 3 Primordial Angels who accompanied him to the other world. They name themselves the 3 Phantom Commanders. Veldonava vanished on their trip to the other world, and they were unable to come back. They had to have changed into phantoms at some stage. I fully comprehended. They were not like Dino at all, and the reason they had developed a relationship based on mutual support must have been their previous friendship. Those were merely my wishful thoughts mixed with my subjective conclusions.
I agree with you.
Yes, that gives me comfort. With Ciel's approval, I was virtually positive.
Either way, the Phantom King and his group are the enemies. Everyone should keep an eye out for them from now on.
I provided everyone with all of the facts I had. The 2 primary characters were Phantom King Feldway and Michael. I also took care not to conceal Michael's power, which was really significant.
Then, perhaps someone is controlling Dino? Is that why Rimuru wanted to trust him?
Ramirez finally figured it out. I didn't want to bring that up until I was positive.
Maybe he's being manipulated. I hope I'm not overthinking it. If that's the case, then we should forgive him, Ramirez.
Yeah, right. So hopefully.
Ramirez stated as much, grinning broadly. I saw that she was feeling better than she had previously, so that was encouraging. All that was left was to pray that Dino was indeed being manipulated. The ambiance of the banquet grew more and more intense during the conversation. Rigurd cried out in delight for the safety of everyone. Rigger made sure the celebration would be continuously enjoyable by getting the budget from Muirmiles. Muirmiles joined in the celebration as well and showed off some of his parlor tricks for the guests. I was pleased with the performance of the subordinates. After the major debriefing, it was time to relax a little bit, and we all started having a great time together.
I don't know anything about the 3 Phantom Commanders, but give me a chance, and I'll show them what I'm capable of.
Benimaru, you're as reliable as ever. Actually, he appeared to be extremely different from before he went into the fight, so I'm curious what happened.
With me at your side, you'll definitely win the next fight.
Gabble claimed that he was more than capable of doing so. Similar to Benimaru, he appeared to have gained power in some way and appeared to have won the battle.
Whoa, Sir Gabble, how charming.
You're right.
You're really growing into a macho man. I'll spend the rest of my life following you.
The men under Gabble were ecstatic as well.
Don't get carried away, my brother. This time, you almost killed yourself, didn't you? And don't you all see that the reason he becomes so conceited is because you are all giving him so much praise?
I hoped Soka would overlook it for today, even though she wasn't as grateful for it. I wasn't going to intervene and stop her, though, because Gabble had done a lot to worry her. I want to be absolutely clear that that wasn't just me trying to get away from trouble. What worried me more was how the guy next to me was controlling the whole crowd.
Charys, I know you suffered a sound beating. I keep saying you need more training.
My lord, I have no way to defend myself.
You should not make any excuses. Be a man with the courage to acknowledge your defeat.
He already did, man. And wasn't Veldora defeated by Velgrind as well? Was he in a position to make fun of other people's misfortunes and then laugh in their faces?
Didn't you lose, too?
Huh? Really? Rimuru, what are you talking about? It's not like I lost at all. Just a little bit out of shape, that's all.
And he was also making excuses for it. Despite all of his lectures to Charys, he wasn't really a talker.
But, my master, you know, he couldn't help it. The enemy got in the way of him in the most despicable way imaginable. It is completely irrelevant.
Yes, that's true. That was well said, Ramirez. No, I still have a perfect winning record.
They don't happen to have forgotten that Velgrind is nearby, do they? I considered bringing it up because it was such a horrible justification. If Veldora hadn't lost, I wouldn't have needed to worry as much, but we all know how it ended.
Charys, I know Veldora may be a headache, but please don't abandon him, okay?
It's nothing to worry about. Now that Sir Veldora is my master, I want to do better so I can win his favor more.
Such a serious person. Actually, that kind of reminds me of Geld. That was certainly put to waste by having to serve someone like Veldora. but despite that, I was extremely grateful that Charys had chosen to do that for me. The celebration went on, bringing with it an abundance of excellent beverages. I was concerned that we were having too much fun, but I was the only one. My officers, after all, had no issue neutralizing alcohol in their systems. That made me question whether or not there was any use to drinking at all, given that, but as they explained it, they could still enjoy the feeling of being inebriated and the way that it loosened their tongues. I chose not to descend too far into this rabbit hole because I felt the same way.
Alright, Sir Rimuru, let me refill your glass.
Diablo, hold on. It's now my turn.
Behind me, Diablo and Xian were arguing with one another. I could never really tell if they disliked each other or loved each other. They fought over completely irrelevant matters.
Why don't you stop fighting over silly things and have a drink?
I'd be delighted to.
You cannot deceive me. Drinking makes me sleepy, so I'm going to focus on taking care of Sir Rimuru first today.
It appeared that Diablo liked wine. I'm not knowledgeable about wine flavors, but that was a good fit for his character. Regarding Xian, the alcohol didn't so much put her to sleep as it caused her to go into a drunken trance, entangle herself in other people's affairs, make a disturbance, etc. Shuna had to keep a close check on her, and the fact that she remembered nothing afterward made it even more difficult to deal with. In situations like these, I would normally give her grape juice, but it was okay if she chose not to drink today. Looking at the two of them more closely, hadn't they also become stronger? Actually, every one of my top officers had developed in some way. They weren't only awakened, something else had happened to them.
Please don't be so suspicious of me.
Oh, I apologize.
But, yeah, people's evolutions were beyond the help of even Seal.
I simply offered some assistance.
Oh, you did?
I wanted to delve deeper, but the party was in full swing. Seal could still accomplish it tomorrow if it could do it now, so let's make the most of today. So I absorbed myself in the feast, putting off all my troubles until the next day.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Chris Guzman, Havox, Speed Saber, Day of Light, John M, John Charles, Faiz Mansour, Dariha Skerte, Jackson Early, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadelle, Gareth Hashimoto, Jacob. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.